Welcome to the George Groves Boxing Club. I am Saint George Groves, the former WBA super middleweight world champion, and I wish everyone, first and foremost, a happy St. George's Day. So if you celebrate it, and a lot of boxing fans out there do, happy St. George's Day to you. It's not my day. I'd love to think that it would be, but it's not. So it's our day, and I'll embrace it as much as I can. Today's video is about my thoughts and feelings, breakdown of how Chris Eubank Jr. wins this weekend in the mega grudge match that it has become, and we can't deny that it's anything but his fight against Conor Benn, fatal fury, born rivals, whatever the latest strapline is for this fight. The build-up has been intense. It's been really good. I've really enjoyed the build-up for this fight. I have leaned into it as a casual fan. I'm fully invested in this fight. I can't wait to see it. And for me, I'm working the broadcast, so I'm not going to give away too much of who I think is going to win, but this is my idea of how Chris Eubank wins this fight this weekend. Now, the guy is naturally bigger. He's got more experience fighting at a higher level, and he's been groomed from boxing longer, it seems, than Conor Benn. In terms of Conor Benn's father, Nigel, has sort of left him to his own devices and hung back. If he needs help, wants advice, he comes for it. Whereas Chris Eubank Sr., I know, I can attest to, has been part of Eubank Jr.'s journey from the get-go. And now he's he's absent, but I've got some archive footage, some sparring actually from way back in 2011, and Eubank Jr. came down to spar me. I'm not going to say learn everything from me and from the rounds with me, because he did a few rounds with a few other guys as well, but considering he didn't have much of an amateur pedigree, he came in and he had to cut his teeth in a tough way. So and he was good. He was really good. Was Chris Eubank Jr. So much so that I think he backed himself to beat me. But we're not going to get too carried away and I'm not going to indulge my ego too much into that. But yeah, I think if I can dig that out, you can see that. I've got it. I will get you that. And I might take myself down memory lane. That would be fun to watch. There's two parts to this breakdown of how this guy wins this fight, and it'll be the same for Conor, which comes out tomorrow. But you win a fight in the build-up, and you win a fight on the night, and it's physical preparation, mental preparation, and emotional preparation. And this one is all three, 100% all three. And Eubank Jr. so far in the build-up has been well prepared, and won every exchange. If you had to score it, you'd say that's another win for Eubank. It's another win for Eubank. Conor Benn hasn't totally imploded at times, but he's come pretty close. And with egg on his face, it's no surprise, knowing him from a distance, from what I've seen of him, that it's going to take a lot of mental restraint to cope with Eubank. I mean, people struggle with him in general because of his attitude, because of his manners, because of his just the way he is. But Conor Benn, with this history, with this rivalry, with the pressure of this being such a huge fight, and neither guy has boxed much lately. You know, it's 18 months since one of Eubank's best performances in terms of turning it around, when he looked dead and buried and shot and finished, when Liam Smith, you know, a career like middleweight, moves up to middleweight and stops him in devastating fashion. He avenges that loss. We know Smith weren't right, but maybe Eubank wasn't right for the first one. But that was 18 months ago. He's had one fight since, and that was 6 months ago. I think that was part of a Riyadh season card that was out in Saudi. But he's waited patiently for this fight. Maybe he's been thinking about this fight the entire time, thinking about the build-up, thinking about what he's going to say, thinking about what he's going to stash in his pocket. Hopefully them eggs weren't off. I don't know how long he was been planning to egg poor Conor, whether them eggs have been sitting in the pocket for 18 months as well, because that It left a bad taste, not just in your mouth, but across your face, I'm sure. So, but where is he at? Where is he at? He's definitely enjoying himself. He's certainly enjoying himself. But if he's enjoying himself, is he putting himself through it in the gym? Because he really needs to do that. He needs to, at his age, 35, 36 years old now, he needs to dial it in and be in the best condition that he's been in for a long time, since he fought me. When he fought me, you describe him as a fighter who had 10 out of 10 endurance, physically very strong, threw a lot of punches per round. So his activity was high, his hand speed was good. The way that he punches is good, and I don't think that hasn't quite left him. You know, the way he throws a shot is good, and you know, he will throw punches in bunches. If he hits you with the first one, then the 2, 3, 4, 5 is coming. And you don't want to be there to be hit by them. Even if they're not hurting you, they're eye-catching shots, they're going to win you rounds. Can he bring that sort of level of endurance, stamina, power endurance to this fight? Because I think he's going to need to. Conor Benn looks fit, looks tough, looks strong, looks possessed at times. So you're going to want to be able to have your boxing IQ, your boxing acumen there for you to keep him honest, keep him in his place, set up the shots you need to set up. But then at times when you've got to work, he's going to have to work. And with his mindset, his temperament now, with the team he's with, he's going to have to be fit. He's going to have to be super fit. He's going to want to have made the weight correctly. You know, you talk about time and time again, people have told me that, oh, he's a carbon copy of his dad. You know, his dad had a great chin. Eubank's got a great chin. You know, speed and power, the finesse. You know, there are a lot of similarities, but Eubank got wiped out against Smith. Something went wrong that night. What can that be? And is it now that at his age, when the dad finished up at cruiserweight, believe it or not, middleweight, he fought Carl Thompson at cruiserweight, can Eubank still make the weight? Everyone, I'm sure he will get there, but will he be strong? Will he be fit? Will he be at his best? Or will he be, we've seen him before talk about being at 70% or 60%. He can't afford to take that risk in this fight, in my opinion. There's too much at stake for him. And he doesn't want to have that mindset of this guy, he's too small. I've been in there with George Groves, I've been there with James DeGale, I've been there with these big guys. How can this little guy with no amateur pedigree compete with me? That's not going to be enough for him, because there's so much at stake for Conor Benn. There is so much at stake, and he does a lot of things well, and he's improved a lot. So Eubank, I think my initial thought was, does he just need to weather the first few rounds? Is Conor Benn going to be wound up and he's going to come and he's going to throw everything at him with every shot, and he might be dangerous early, and then if you catch him, you walk him onto something, or you just weather that, he starts to gas. You know, usually when fighters gas, it comes in round 8, 9, maybe even 10, and then you have to wait for that second win just to carry you through the fight. That's totally normal. You can be the fittest athlete on the planet and you have a lull and you come back. But is Conor Benn's lull going to come early? Is it going to come after 3 rounds? Is that what Eubank is envisioning? Like, I think if Eubank comes out, never had the best jab, but he worked that jab well against Smith. That was one of the best sort of improvements that I've seen of his, where he was able to use the jab to control the distance, to control the man in front of him, put him in his place, to not be working so hard. You know, he's the sort of guy who likes to drop his hands, slip and slide, but chaotic movements, you know, and they don't always work. You're wasting a lot of energy. And then from them positions, if you're trying to shoot uppercuts like Roy Jones would, or like even like Naz would, and then come into bent arm shots, everything is thrown from the ankles. Like you're trying to spring out of your legs to throw them. Your feet aren't planted. The power's lost. Your energy's bleeding out. And that won't be the way that Eubank wins this fight. If he can get back to that good jab, keep Conor at I like to call it double distance, that long range, you know, where you're half a step out of range. So if you want to shoot, you can just shoot. He's going to have a bit of height and reach on Ben. And Ben, if he falls into his stereotype of trying to punch hard with every shot, you're going to start to read that. You're going to start to see that coming. So then you just time your straight shots with him. And then once you've settled in, once he starts to stand still, once he starts to freeze a little bit, then you can start putting your combinations together. You start putting that. Once you've touched with that jab, then the right hand can come, then the bent arm shots can come. It might go mix it to body and head. You might just do that little shoe shine. I've heard his dad say it 14 years ago in the gym, shoe shine. And maybe at the time I wasn't quite sure what he means, but I'm pretty sure he just means touch, 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 and then a big one comes up through the middle. Or maybe a big right hook comes around the side, or a big left hook comes around the side. Eubank's going to have to do that. He's going to have to win this fight with volume. He can't rely on being able to knock out Conor Benn. Conor Benn's chin might be really good. You know, when you move up in weight, that don't necessarily mean that you're vulnerable. If anything, sometimes you take shots better because you haven't been able to fight with extra weight. You know, you get stronger, you punch harder, and your chin gets better when you go higher up in weight. That's biology. We can't dispute that. So he's going to want to be fit planning, in my opinion, for a 12-round fight. You always do, but I wouldn't be too hung up on maybe that Conor Benn gasses and that he can get hold of him. Jab is key. Jab is key. And variety, head and body. If you can time Conor, and I'm going off if it can be done with Conor Benn, maybe he'll show something different. Maybe he'll press with aggressive head movement, but not throw a lot of punches. So there's not a lot of openings. But if he does punch, leave the openings, you can punch with him. So you can, you time the punches with him, or you can catch and fire because he loads up. And if he loads up, then it just makes your job that much easier. If he comes wide, you catch and shoot narrow. If he's coming narrow, then you drop back and you go wide. He should, if he can, marry up his feet and hands. And I've seen him do it before. I've seen him not do it, and especially with the Roy Jones era where he was trying to pull off Jones-esque moves that, let's be honest, sometimes only Roy Jones can do. His hands and feet didn't work together. You know, his legs were never set, therefore he can't punch hard. And if he does therefore try to punch hard, it's gassing. You get tired. You can't help but get tired. So yeah, he needs to be set in his feet. I'm sure under the guidance of Jonathan Banks, who's worked with a lot of good fighters, currently working with Badu Jack and others. I've seen him in the gym. You know, he gets involved. He's in the ring. He's during the spar. He's not reffing the spar. He's coaching the spar, but on your shoulder. If he's doing that with Junior, then and Eubank's listening, then we should see a really good, solid Eubank Jr. But for me, I'd like to see him at his very best. The form he was in when he fought me. If he's not there, then he might come unstuck. But that's how Chris Eubank does it. He's a fella who may be able to hold his head more as well, stick to the plan. His dad, by all accounts, is not going to be there. They're not getting on at the moment. I saw Senior last week. He told me that the fight was not going to happen. He told me that he was adamant that it's not going to happen, that his son is not a gentleman. He shouldn't be hitting people with eggs. He should have his license taken off him. And that he's convinced that, I think he's worried that middleweight is going to be too tough for him. But maybe not. Maybe by the time this comes out, Eubank and Senior and Junior have reconciled and they're back as one. That might be the big reveal for fight night and fight week. We can only wait and see, and it would not surprise me with those two guys who are very what are they? They are very aware. They are very aware of how they want to be perceived. The Warriors Code, like what it means to win, and I saw it instilled in junior, when he was a paid sparring partner of mine, when I used to give him a few quid every week to come down and spar me down at the Haymaker gym. And he used to give me great work. And Senior was there in his corner, giving him advice. So, yeah, I think I will. I'm sure it's old news now. There's no harm, no foul. If you haven't seen Chris Eubank Jr. and figured him out by now, then this sparring ain't gonna give it away. And he's pretty good in it. He's very good in it. He's a good guy for sparring. So if I can dig it out, you can have it. And that's it, really. More content tomorrow. I'll give you the breakdown of how Conor Benn can win, and he can win if he gets it right. See you tomorrow.